Welcome students. I'm Robin Mudrick, your instructor for the WBD Course and System. This system includes the tutorials and instructional videos such as this. It includes all the visual images, which we call the smart tool icons, along with all the drawing templates. It includes an Excel well data worksheet for the tables, and it includes the final Wellbore diagram in Visio we used in the lesson for your reference. So it includes everything you need from start to finish to create this Wellbore diagram. For this video, we will create a Wellbore diagram we have called Cutbank Creek. All of our Wellbore diagrams are based on actual wells, but we're using fictitious names and fictitious data for our purpose. It is important to note that these are for teaching purposes, so there may be errors or omissions, but it's your job to get it right. This well, Cutbank Creek, represents a basic vertical well, and it includes casing, tubing, packer, nipples, and some perforations. A great starting point. I have been teaching wellbore diagram for quite a while now, and the system I use is based on 4 fundamentals. They are tables. Now the data tables may come from well planning engineers or well drilling engineers. There are many kinds of tables. What you need to do is discern what information you need to create the wellbore diagram. Secondly would be wellbore, the wellbore layout, the structure of the well, casings, multiple casings, shoes, open holes, cement, kickouts, curves, depths. We all have to do this and fit it on a printed page. So quite often not to scale, kind of relative. And number 3 would be strings. Could be 1 string, 2 string, dual strings, tubing, inside tubing. The string represents completion or downhole components installed in the wellbore after the drilling and casing have been completed. It can include strings, packers, safety valves, gas lift mandrels, downhole pumps, any other downhole jewelry. And number 4, annotations. These are vital in communicating additional data that may not be immediately evident in the drawing or the diagram. Data details not shown in tables. So keep in mind that these 4 fundamentals are not linear. Okay, you typically start with tables to reference the well data, but you can start with the drawing too. All 4 interrelate with each other, and you will most likely go back and forth and work through all 4 stages, possibly multiple times, until you can create a clear, concise, comprehensive, accurate wellbore diagram. Now what I want to show you here is a quick overview of the Cutbank Creek wellbore diagram using the 4 fundamentals. Okay, so number 1, the tables. Now the tables are pulled from the Excel data sheet that is included in the lesson. It's been filled out. These first 3 tables in the diagram are Visio tables that you can just double click and enter this data. So we use a combination of both Visio or Excel. For the wellbore fundamental, we go to the tubular table. Now the tubular table has the conductor, the surface casing, production casing, even the tubing. On this instance here, we just copied and pasted the data from the Excel sheet and placed it into our Wellbore diagram. And then once this information is on the page, it allowed us to begin the drawing using the casings. Okay, so you lay out the casing onto the page, and this could be adjusted depending on the relativity of the tubing string and where things line up. I put the depth at 350 meters up here, but we may have to pull that down to fit whatever's above 350 meters. Just depends. Number 3, the strings. Again, this is a repeat of the other, the Wellbore. We just copied the Cutbank Creek product description table. And in this table, we had done the tally, and putting the tools in, listing them from the bottom to the top. There are instances where people list them bottom down, or the nice thing about Excel and doing this is that you can also cross-reference your tally and make sure that your depths are correct. But all the descriptions or the depth tags are to the top of the tool for this drawing. Okay, so with this table on the page, you can start adding the tubing, and then all the different tools that you want, and numbering them from the bottom to the top, and then of course they're already listed in your table. You add the depth tags, double check everything, and then you move along to the annotations. We have added some notes, some details about how, instructions or how things were done completing the well. We've added the depth of the production string because it wasn't listed on the tables. We've added the perfs into the table, plus we put the perfs on here and labeled them as such. We have other, diagram not to scale or disclaimer for, if you want to add that to your document. And you can even polish this drawing even more. On this one, I've added a formation table or a lithography table. This can be moved around and adjusted to represent the accurate formations and labeled. On this one here, we pulled it right behind the drawing. So, you could do whatever you want to do to polish the drawing. This is typically not necessary, for well completion records, but you get the idea. Once you have the data, the WBD system has everything you need to create a wellbore diagram. Any diagram. With the WBD Course System, you will have the tools available to visualize your work in a very professional manner. Welcome to the Cutbank Creek Wellbore diagram tutorial. You can see by my page that I've already opened up the well data worksheet. This well data worksheet has 4 tabs. Let's go through each one. The basic well information, the name, vertical location. We'll add that to the drawing. And the tubulars, the conductor, surface casing, production casing. So this data here tells us a story. This is the most important thing for creating the wellbore layout. Over on the far right, there might be some top of cement issues, possibly with liners or intermediate casings. But for this one, it's a very basic well, and all the cement is to surface. In the production descriptions, we've created a tally of the equipment, and it's run from bottom to top. And all the depth tags will be labeled as to the top of the tool. We put in the production string bottom depth here as a reference. So to make sure that our tubing at the top ends up at 0 or whatever your depth is to KB or flange or whatever the top depth you're after. And the last tab is notes, and notes might be things that we need to add to the drawing, things that aren't listed in the tables. I think to just bring the drawing home, the final details to get the Wellbore diagram correct and accurate. All right, let's leave this, go back to well information, and open up Visio. All right, we want a new template. We have to go to categories, new drawing, create, and we're looking inside my shapes, templates, and the very first one, the letter blank template. Create new. All these templates have the tool icon stencils along the left and the working page at the top and the toolbar. Okay, first thing I'm going to zoom in. Now, one thing I use a lot, and you'll see already here, there's at 1.5 inches, there's a guideline. I use guidelines to set up tables, to set objects in alignment. And how you get these guidelines on your page is by going to the ruler. I'm going to go to one at the top and pull it down, click on my left button, and I'm going to just snap it to about the 10-inch mark. This is a comfortable place to work everything from tables to the top of the casing drawing down to the bottom of the page. I'm going to delete this logo. So the very first thing I want to do is go back to my Excel worksheet and get the well data. We'll take across this information right here, copy that, and click on the Visio, and I'm just going to paste special Microsoft worksheet. Okay, now I'm not going to use this particular one. I would like to demonstrate the tables that we have built in Visio. So if we scroll down on the stencil set down to tables, and I put my starting line, and I'm going to take the main title and just drag the icon across the page. And it'll follow the guide on the right and the guide on the top. And if I double click on this, I can just put in Cutbank Creek or whatever the name of the well is. If you would like to add a secondary title to denote whether it's a well proposal or a well completion record or multi-stage horizontal, whatever, there's a subtitle here. You can use that one and put these two together. And same thing with this one. If I double click on it, I can put well completion record. Third table from Visio would be the customer table. And the reason I like this one, I'm going to just zoom in and use my arrow keys to just nudge it up. And if I hold the shift key, it nudges very slowly so I can make things align just perfectly vertically. Okay, I zoom back out and I double click on this. And we're going to enter the data here as we see it on the page there. So the company would be World Oil Company. And the location is 12-31. You could go back to Excel and copy this just so you get it exactly right, not to make a mistake. Okay, like I'm making right now. 19 W5. Okay. I'm not going to change any of the prepared for the service center. I might go down and add the reference number, which is WBD -1 -27 -06 okay. Double check, make sure it's correct. Okay, come back and correct your errors if you make any later. I'm not going to add anything more into this except maybe the date. I may not be finished today, so I won't put anything else. I can delete this now. A quick way to line these tables when you drop them on the page too is each time you drop one of these, you can pull down a guide and put it right on the corner node. And you'll see if I zoom in, a guide is right on the corner. So when I bring in the next table, it'll snap to that and the outside printing line. I could even add another guide if I wanted from the side and put on the corner as well. Okay, so now I'm running my guides to make sure everything's lined up in it. Although Excel, when you drag Excel tables over, sometimes their lining up is a little less than perfect. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so I don't have anything more to do here. Cutbank Creek, well, completion record, and I put in my data. I'm going to go back to my Excel worksheet and go to page 2, tubulars. So on this one, everything's complete. I've double checked. Okay, I'm going to just copy this. I don't need any information about top of cement on this one. If I go back to my drawing and I paste special, Microsoft worksheet, there I have the table. It may not be exactly the right size in here, but that's okay. You can adjust the size. I'm going to put it up along that line. You'll see the green dot means it's grabbing that guideline. And then when I get up just high enough, you'll see another green dot or box that says I've aligned it with the guideline to the top. I go down to this corner, zoom in, and I just make sure that we're diagonally, we're on that guide as well. Just flush it up. All right, so I have my Wellbore layout data at my fingertips here, so I can start creating my Wellbore layout. I typically make an assessment here, and this is a pretty easy one, production casing. I'm going to go to my casing stencils and just use labeled production casings. But there's 7 different sizes of casing. Each one fits into the next one. Just like the liner fits into production, and then the large tubing fits in that, and then small tubing fits in that, etc. Climbs all the way up to the largest one of all, which is casing number 7. And we won't need it for this well. Okay, so I'm going to start with production casing rather than the conductor. I'll start with the bottom and go up. I put it on the page, doesn't matter where I put it. I can put it down here, but I'm looking for that little green light that tells me I've centered it on that guide. I'm going to look at my table, and it says production is C, and the bottom depth is 2300. And you have the choice of meters, feet to kb, meters to kb, measured depth, whatever you want. We're just calling it meters. Okay. Now what we can do is zip this up to the top, flush to that guide that we said we're going to start everything, go down. And also this probably goes near the bottom of the page, but it can be adjusted later. And it also depends if you're adding an open hole or anything bend or kick out at the bottom. Okay, so we scroll back up. I'm going to zoom in just a fraction. I want to turn my, let's just put all the casing on before we do any annotations or labeling, because you may end up doing those twice. If you do them now and then things are in the way, you got to leave them to the end. Also in the casing, you need a surface casing. Okay, I'm just going to put that over top. That would seem to be pretty wide. We could use this. I didn't in the drawing, so I'm going to cancel that one. And I'm going to use just the next size up, which is just intermediate casing, but we're going to call it surface casing. I can cheat that way. Okay, this is B. And I think the surface casing was 350 feet. No, 350 pull down meters. Okay. And I'm going to put this up to the top. Snaps, but as you can see, it was the last thing I dropped on the page, so it's in front. So I have to either go up to my home tab and send it to the back. I can also right click on it, and you'll see on these little speed buttons here you have front and back on those as well. Alright, that's the surface casing. Then it would be the conductor, and I'm just going to go up to the next size. I'll use surface casing for the conductor. I'm going to put it down here, and this is A. It's 30 meters. Okay, cool. Now this one has no shoe. It just goes up to the top. Say it's nothing relative, like 30, 350. To be relative or scale, this one might be down here somewhere, which is fine too. But also front to back issue again. So I'm going to use this method and say go to the back. I have conductor, surface, and production casing, and the tubing, which is quite a distance to, but we still won't add it till we get to the next string page. Okay, so let's maybe annotate this just to give it a whirl here, because I just make sure I got it all right. So I'm going to show balloon and show depth tag. And then on this one, same thing again. I'm going to show balloon, show depth tag. Doing good. In this one, I'm going to say show depth tag, show balloon. Now, zooming out, take a look. A couple things I want to change on this just as a quick peek. And if I need to move or edit these depth tags and move them, or I can right click on the icon and then right click unlock. You'll see a lock group select. You just uncheck it and then pick the balloon, and then holding the shift key with my left finger here just to keep it straight. That way I can't go to the right or left. And I just move it all the way up to page. When I hit the ruler, it's going to scroll up automatically. And I'm just going to put it up here just to be grouped together with these other two balloons for the casings. Right? And then you can lock it up back up again so you don't accidentally edit something you don't want to move. Like you might grab that balloon and move it again, so you lock it. And that's a pretty standard principle with most of the icons, is that they have a lock and unlock feature. And when you unlock it, we can move the depth tags, move the balloons, change the color of the text, edit them, add a fill to the balloon, multiple things, even edit the icons to some degree, like colorizing the shaded icons, but we'll get to that in a more advanced level. The other one that I see here is that, because I'm fussy, is that I maybe want to put this depth tag just a little closer in. So I unlock it and I click that depth tag and I just move it. Okay. It was set back a little further to allow for the cement and shoe if you had chosen to use it as just a straight casing, but as a conductor, it's just the pipe. Okay, now if I go close to this, while this is unlocked, I can show you one other feature. I'll show you those things I just talked about. If I were to click on this once, then click in again, and then click in yet again on the arrow, I can actually move the arrow in or fine-tune where the arrow points to exactly. Same with the balloon. I can click into it, then I can click into the line, and I can finesse where I want to go with that line. While I click the balloon too, I can also fill it with a color, whatever I want. Or I could say, no, I don't want a color, but I may want to change the text color to be, red to flash me or something. Okay? Right. Okay. So I don't need that really. I'm just going to demonstrate it. Okay. Let's zoom back out. I think we've kind of got a handle on the Wellbore layout. There's no open hole. There's no kickouts. There's nothing. There's just the production, surface casing, and a conductor. And we've met the burden of that. So we're going to jump back now to the table over in Excel and go to product descriptions. Okay, so this was already entered, all the details. Even if these get changed later, I'll show you why it doesn't matter. But we did the tally, double checked it, and we're going to just grab I'm not going to grab the production string bottom depth, but I'll just grab the basic table. Go Control C. I'm using. I can also just right click, copy, and then go over to Visio, and then right click, paste special, Microsoft Worksheet, say OK. Okay, then I'm going to move it and snap it to my guide on the left. And zoom in a bit here because I didn't put a guide on the bottom of these ones, but I'll put one now, and I'll put this up. But I don't even like where this guide is sitting, so I'm just going to manually nudge this up using the Shift key and the arrow key. And then if I zoom out and go to this corner and make sure that this is a little too big, so let's just make it a little smaller to fit in with those lines, so everything lines up as best you can. Excel doesn't look like it's lining up, but it prints out differently than what it looks like on the screen, so bear with me. So we've added this product description table. Cool, now we're onto the string. Starting with a wireline reentry guide. A couple ways you can do this. Approach it from the top, or you can approach it from the bottom. Typically, it's a combination of both. I mean, obviously you want to put them down from the top, that way then you can make room, you can nudge things back up. Okay, so let's start with tubing. Go into the tubing stencil. Couple types of tubing in here. Well, there's quite a few here. There's tubing hangers, there's crossovers, mule entry guides, which we'll probably have to have at the bottom. But let's start with the tubing. Now the tubing, this one is what we call a fixed tubing. It doesn't zip. It doesn't increase in length. There's just a stubby one and a short one. Handy in some situations because sometimes the zip, the balloon, you're constantly having to move it around to fit on the page, whereas these ones, pretty much the balloon sticks right to the thing, to the side of the icon. And if you look into this detail here, you'll see that some of the tubing, like a pup joint, very small, and then you have tubing which is 9 meters. So you could use the stretch one for that. For sure, the first tubing coming down 2,271.69 meters, yeah, we need this one right here. So we're going to grab it on the page, put it up here. Now here's what happens with any icons and when you drop these on the page. Let's just quickly go for it again. This wasn't necessarily snapping to this guideline. All the tools snap at half-inch increments. You'll see it jump when I let it go. It snaps every half-inch. And if I move it just over here, like that. So half-inch or 12.7 millimeters. Okay, and that's just so that these stay in line and they don't need to grab the guide to stay in line. Gets pretty handy when you're trying to line things up. So all you have to worry about is up and down nudging, not left and right. Having said that, if you want to move an icon, you can right click and move it, and it free move disconnects it from that drop snap. We'll cover all these details here as we go. Okay, so I'm putting the tubing up. Usually just extend it just past a little bit. There are instances where I've seen guys, put the casings up higher because they're higher in the wellhead, and then the tubing hanger's up here somewhere, and that's where they run the tubing. Some include the tubing hanger as part of the production string, but we're not. We're just going to put the tubing up, but I still put it up past the casing because it does extend into the wellhead to some degree. Okay, so when I dropped it, I got this shape data box. Okay, so these don't apply, any of these things, because we don't have the automated table to put these in. Okay, and we've already got them in our Excel sheet, so these are they do not apply. Let's say it again. Okay, so this is item number 10, and the depth to the top is 0. So really, that's all we have to do. Say okay. Now there's just one. I'm going to zip it down because it'll be quite a ways, 2,200. So the rest of the completion assembly will be near the bottom of the hole. Okay. This also, the other thing is, if I turn the depth tag on here, I can show the balloon. Okay, and I can show the depth tag on this one. We have to take an extra step in this is to unlock it and then select the depth tag and align with the top. Okay, then we lock it again. Okay, why am I doing that? Because we said in the table in the Excel sheet that all the depths were to the top. Okay, so we've accomplished that. I probably would actually unlock it again and move the balloon down below the C at least, so that these tubular numbers are all gathered in one spot in line with the string, and the casing balloons are separate near the top. Doesn't always work out that way, but when you can do it. That's item number 10. So, and the depth tag's been added. So if we just keep repeating this process, sliding sleeve is the next item, and that would be in the flow control. Okay, and there it is there, and we just drop it on the page. Okay, and that's item number 9. And the depth is 227169. All right. And it's defaulting to meters, which is good. So I may move that up just there somewhat and scroll down the page a bit. And then we're just going to keep going to number 8, which will be just tubing. So go back up to my tubing. And this is a tubing which is 9 meters. So it's a bit long. So we'll show it that way. And number 8. And the bottom of this, or the top of this tubing, is 227, make sure, 228230. Okay. Same thing, I have to right click, unlock it, show the depth tag, but then click on the depth tag and say align with the top. Okay, and I'll show balloon and lock it up, and we're good to go. What locking it up does is allows you that if you come back to it and say I want to change the 8 to a 7 or alter the depth tag, I can just go like this, double click on it. Now if you get it's not an error message, nothing happens, but if you click on it sometimes, you can still just right click and say edit tool properties, and it opens up the same window. So 2 ways to still get into the icon to maybe correct your depth tag or something if it's discovered to be wrong. So I'll cancel that, move that up. Okay, we're cruising. So just keep on going to number 7, which is an on-off unit, meaning we're headed into a packer. So let's go to the packer accessories, and here's the on-off unit. I drag it onto the page. Now this is an interesting one because it has quite a few different views. We don't need a wireline plug showed in here, but that could be something that is there if needed. So we'll go no wireline. And usually at the bottom of all the shaded icons when you drop down, there's multiple views, like many variations, even to the sleeve. And most of them have small and large versions. So you want to kind of review, don't miss that there might be different views here to meet your needs. And we have the go profile or the no go profile. And on this one, I think it says go. I don't think it actually denotes whether it's a GoPro, but typically it would, if it's a no-go, it would be stated. So we'll stick with that. And what that means is if I zoom into it, there's no lip here on the bottom to a no-go. So if I click on this again and say no-go, you'll see that lip happens. So I just turned that lip off. Okay. And we're going to double click on this and give it a number, which is 7. And the depth is, oops, can't see the table, so I got to make sure I'm looking at the table when I do this. 7 is 228210. 228210. Continuing on. So I could at some point here say, well, I know these are going to fit together, so I'm just going to zoom in and put these up here. And they usually kind of snap into place. Some of them you kind of have to nudge. This is one of them. I don't get carried away doing this too soon, because if I have to move something, if it doesn't fit at the bottom of the well, then I got to move them all. But there's ways around that too. All right, just continuing down to number 6, which is the packer. So we go into retrievable packers, and we're looking for a mechanical double grip. So a mechanical single grip, and down the list we have a mechanical double grip. Okay. Now you'll see on this one, this is number 6, and the depth tag I can see, so 228330. Okay. Also on the views here, especially with packers, stuff like that, you'll see it listed as intermediate. There's 3 sizes in here, so it will actually fit a liner or it'll fit a intermediate. And like if I click on this, say OK, you can see that it would fit the next casing size up. So, oops. Okay, the labeling is wrong on that. It also can change the tubing connections. What else is in there? Small and large tubing connections. Okay. Number 5 is a pup joint. Now this is a tiny little pup joint, so tiny, not tiny, short. Okay, tubing. And I'm just going to use that one. It doesn't zip, it's just a small one. Okay, so the pup joint, and it's number 5. And the depth tag on number 5 is 228498. Okay. Bring that up there. Blunk, snaps to that bottom. I can right click, show balloon, show depth tag. All right, we're cruising. Let's go to number 4, landing nipple. Okay, so that would be in the same flow control. Okay, that one would be in the flow control. You've got your wireline nipple or your pump seating nipple. Now, typically it refers to a landing nipple refers to landing a wireline. So let's drag that one onto the page. And that's number 4. And the depth is 2287. Okay. Okay. And there's the no wireline plug. And it's a no-go profile. We want a go profile. Again, we do not want the ledge at the bottom here. So we say OK. And we're looking for number 3, which would be perforated pup joint. All right, a little bit different here. Let's go up to tubing and see what we got. Tubing, perforated. Drag it down, and I just need to scroll down a bit. Room. Okay. And that one was number 3. Say OK. And the dimension on 3 was 228773, 2287, oops, 73. Okay, so we write that, and both the balloon and depth tag are on. Okay, so we've got two more tools to go, and the tool is a landing nipple and a re-entry guide. But so I'm just going to finish it off right to the bottom, but we obviously are going to have to move things up. Now there's different ways you can do this. And just slide them up. Okay. And make room for another landing nipple. Now in this one here, it says no go. So there you go. So I'm going to take this very same one here and hold my control button, and it duplicates the icon exactly. Same balloon, same everything. So you want to be careful here. So this is number 2, and I have to get the depth for number 2 is 228956. 28956. Okay. And last but not least, a wire line re-entry guide. Okay. One thing I could be doing here, which I'm not, and I'm going to do it now just to show you, is that I keep scrolling up and down to see this table, but I can hold the shift key and just bring it down so I can see it better. Okay, so this is obviously number 1, and the depth to the top is 2289.87. Okay. All right, so that we have our string built. Now, I'm going to leave enough space because I think that if I look at this here, I'm going to make a decision. 28987, and the bottom hole's 23, so there's just 11 meters to spare. So if I go back to my table and look at the notes, I'll see that the bottom depth of the production streak is 2290, and it's 2.5 meters above the perforations. So, and here's the perforations. So if I take these notes, copy this, and go back to my pay special Excel worksheet, sure, let's do that. Let's make sure this fits to here. Okay, and put this back up to here. We can lock these into place after. And I can put this up here. So I know that I need perforations here between 2 to 90. And the other thing I forgot to do with all of these is I had forgot that the depth has to be at the top. So any ones that I didn't do, I'm going to go back and do. Okay. And we get that one. Click on the depth tag, put the top. Okay. I need to scroll in and just see that because I think it's too high. That happens on the nipples because the arrow is defaulting to where the wireline plug should be. Okay. Perforated pipe. We're going to say unlock and then click on the depth tag and line to the top. Check. Well, it didn't, so we'll go move it up to the top. Okay. Lock it into place. You'll see once in a while too that I kind of click off of an icon, because if you click too many times, you just keep getting deeper in the icon, especially if it's unlocked. So click away, then come back and select what you want to do. Okay, so we have two icons hiding behind each other here. Okay, and I think that this one's deeper than that one, so we need to unlock this one and move the depth tag to the top. Same thing, it's too high, so we're coming down. Bingo. Click away, right click, lock, and this one, unlock, and click on the depth tag, align top, little finesse, right click, lock. And I forgot a lot here. I think I didn't even do the packer, and I didn't do anything. All right, so let's unlock. Okay, lock. I'm just going to move this aside because I think we're okay with this one. Unlock, move to top, fudge it down, packer up to there. Lost my zoom. I'm going to bring the tubing to there. Okay, so we completed this. I'm just bringing them all up together. Looking good. All right. So a couple things. Let's finish off the bottom. Let's go to the casings and get the perfs. And the perfs you'll see are production, intermediate, or liner, so we're okay with production. Okay, and we also, zoom out a bit here, can add the item number. I think on the table I don't think I have an item number, it's just listed, but we will get the perfs to 2292.50 and the bottom depth 2296.00 and meters. Okay, say okay, and there you go, they're listed. So you're pretty close to the bottom of the hole, so you're trying to keep these, pretty relevant. It doesn't, like you said, it's nothing to scale, it's just relevant. But this is pretty close, and it says here that the bottom of the production screen string is 2290, 2.5 meters above pro. So it's at 2290. So I would put it about here somewhere. Let's say I'd say that the bottom of that tool is there, and I'm going to go to the drawing tools and pull out a floating depth tag, because I moved the depth tag for the icon to the top, so I have to put add one for the bottom of the tool because this one needs 2 depth eggs. Okay, so it kind of makes sense now. 23, 296, 292, 290. Okay, so then I can just bring the rest of the string down to this tool, this level. So if I just click on these and kind of pick each one, I might do a few at first and then right. Okay, then I might pick the other 3 here. If I zoom in, I could see I just have to go a little more. Okay, zoom out, then I have to bring my tubing from surface with zip, so I just need to zip it down to there. There. All right, so now I want to double check so that we got 0 at the top. Scrolling down, and let's move this. So we got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the bottom of the production string, perfs the bottom of the hole, and we're pretty accurate here. Now, if my last cleanup on the tables would be, is that I usually click on the tables, and this is where I think we had shown we created this tab here called the lock tables. And so if I click on that lock table and the protection, so what this mainly does, I pick 6, the width, the height, the aspect, the X, and the Y. I don't worry about all of those because that you'll see in a minute. So hypothetically, if I wanted to move this, well, I can't accidentally budget unless I turn those things on. But if I want to edit the object that I've selected, it's going to open an Excel sheet with that edit. Okay, before I do that though, I'm going to close my well data worksheet. Okay. Now what happens is even though it's closed, when you double click on this or use this edit object button, okay, it's going to open up an Excel worksheet that is independent of the other one. So if you make changes here, the changes are in Visio in this Excel sheet that's embedded in Visio. It's not the other worksheet. So if I were to change the headings to a real nice cool blue because I don't like gray and say OK, that's what it'll do. So I can match things up here. I can be really artsy if I want, but I'm going to undo that. Okay, I won't. I'll leave it. Okay, so same with this table. I'm going to move it up. Zoom in to make sure I'm nice and flush. Okay, and I do the same for this one. No, I'm not going to change anything on this one. I'm going to close it. Okay. But what I did, I just showed you what happens if you don't lock it. It changes size back to its original size when you dragged it on the page. So now I have to go back here, fit this up to here. Okay, zoom out. Make sure it's fit on this, snap onto that line. There you go. Then go up to my protection, click on the first. Okay, so now it's locked into place. I'm going to go back into here and change these back to gray because I like gray. a little darker than the other gray. I'm going to put my notes table up here. All right. So if I want to add any other disclaimers or any other boxes at the bottom of this, well, I have to go back to my data sheet, or I can go even into my tables here and add another notes table. It's the same size. You get the idea. You could put a disclaimer, and we have a disclaimer buried in this table as well. Okay, so I'm zooming in and out using my 2 fingers on the shift control, and I can also go to the view tab and say fit to window, which is one of my favorite ones. So it just sits there and I can see the drawing from start to finish. Now you want to double check all your measurements, all your things, print it out, take a highlight, make sure it's all right, and go back and you can click on the tables to edit them, or click on the icons to edit them, because we made sure that they're all locked back up, and you're good to go. Now this thing could be printed out in a couple manners. This could be first of all, save your work. And one last tip before we leave, you all may have different PDF documents, and there are the print options. You may even have save as PDF, whatever. But sometimes the gradients, PDF, Adobe products, and some of the other PDF products don't really save the gradients. You won't notice it so much in vertical welds, but in the horizontal bends and the tubing bends, the gradients there can get kind of messed up with their PDF document. We have discovered that Microsoft has embedded a PDF tool here, but it's under the Save As command. So if I went back to Cutbank Crank and said, pick down here and PDF, it's an awesome little PDF document maker.